probably one of the most unexpected things happened to me was when I was chatting with a T-Mobile rep online. I was simply asking the rep questions and getting some info. And when she had made a comment about the repairs, I responded in agreement because a sales rep at my local store said the same thing.
Okay.
It was in reference to the Go 5G plans, which were slightly higher and essentially gave you more hotspot as far as, pricing, and then hotspot gigabits
Okay.
or gigabytes. So to which I replied, quote, "but higher price for some hotspot increase," unquote. And immediately saw my error of but instead of bit after I sent it, and attempted to correct myself real quick and sent BIT asterisk asterisk asterisk. Well, she took that to mean I had said something in a profane way. Yes. So when in reality, I was just trying to correct what I had previously said, and clearly the lesson in this was to, even if you're in a hurry, always put the asterisks in front.
Dude.
Yeah, it was horrible. So I have a screenshot of the transcript and everything, but it was just an absolute train wreck. And sadly, she had already terminated the conversation before I had a chance to further explain myself. Because by the time that happened, I didn't even realize it. And I was like, because she said something along the lines of "sorry?" question mark. And then she responded with another thing saying, "We don't. I'm going to give you my your first warning. We don't tolerate that kind of content," or whatever it was. And so I'm like, "What in the world did I say?" And then I looked up and I'm like trying to read through. Oh, that's what she thought I said. So
Oh, man.
worst awkward moment I've ever had with online chat. And I was like calling our dad and just texting our dad and letting him know, like, hey, this is what happened. I even called them on the phone saying, do you have message history, just so we can clarify that, because I didn't want any warnings, permanently on his account. So
man,
it was just absolutely insane. I was like, and even our dad was like, it's weird because when you read the context, there was no escalation. There was no, you could tell my tone was very, easygoing the entire time. And so to come out and just randomly say that, it's like, you would think that she would have a little more understanding on how that, came about, but clearly not.
Sorry, man.
Anyway, hey, it happens. So, but
so.
that was one of those odd but real things that just threw me for a loop. So if that ever happens to you, then just know you have my sympathy as a host to a listener. So
thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Well, you're my co-host, so
yeah, that's great. Well, I don't know if I can necessarily come off of that in any real way that's nice.
Right.
Google's removing HTML in 2024. In January.
Wow, that was just like a complete, sucker punch.
I just thought we never
ripping off the Band-Aid.
I wanted to change some things. Just wanted to do a bit of a different pace. I'm just not gonna use 10 minutes of our time to transition to a different topic. Instead, I'm just gonna tell you, Google's removing basic HTML in the beginning of January in 2024. I have my own thoughts about it, obviously, but what you think about that?
Well, it's kind of. How much does that what would that impact as far as the user interface on Gmail? Because,
well, that's just the old it's like the old Yahoo back in the early 2000s.
Right. Yep.
So, and most people I don't even think use that, and I wasn't even aware of it. I thought that kind of was there early in the early 2000s, and it transitioned slowly into what we have now. But no, that's just a completely different set of
okay.
stuff.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about now. Because you threw me for a loop. So yeah, is that like switching? Because there's a button in Gmail where you switch back to the old version or the old web version. Yes.
Yep.
There's no point in keeping that around anyway. I don't even know anybody who uses. I take that back. I use that on occasion, and it's only to access Gmail directly through web via my smartphone. If I was to use it on a full
I
fledged
got you.
computer
Okay,
or something
yeah.
like that, then yeah, it would go through its regular web interface. But outside of that, no,
Okay.
I rarely use HTML anymore. So
No, and I've
that does
never
not
used
surprise
it.
me.
I've never even seen it. And just looking at the pictures, it really does. And I'm a youngin.
It brings back memories for
Um,
me.
and just it looks so old, and I feel like I'm looking. I feel like I'm living in like 2006 or something right now. It's
Yeah,
so weird.
yeah,
But yeah, there's that bit of. I don't think it's sad. I think it's good. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things that was expected to come, but yeah, it does kind of have that nostalgic touch to it. It's kind of like running through all those Facebook reels of when we were 90s and pictures of the mall and TV
yeah.
shows and all the VHS. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, now you had more news as far as Google on some Pixel information. Is that right?
Yeah, these are quite a few topics, so we'll kind of just go in between them. You can respond, and I can have my thoughts about it too. The first one, yeah, I know a lot of Pixel stuff this week. Goodness.
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, this episode's very long for those of you who are listening to this. The Pixel 8a. We already have leaks of these, and normally the A series usually releases in May. Because that's kind of the one that they release the year after that model specific.
Right.
And the images here, and I'll actually show you these real quick here. You can go to this link here and then just see these. The images
Yeah.
are interesting. I will say that we've, for those of you who can't see, basically the phone is sort of curved, very much so. And I haven't seen a phone like that since like an early
Galaxy S.
6.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, one of those.
Exactly. Yep.
The camera bar, if you will, is thick with 3 C's. And then the bezels are actually also kind of thick, which is normal because it's an A series. You really don't expect a whole lot out of that. And by the way, this phone's code name is Akita, I think is the right name. And that roadmap sort of name thing was talked about way back a few months ago, so it was already released.
Could be Akita. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Akita, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that would be, but and this specific one does show this sort of blue almost,
Yeah.
which I actually kind of like the color. But yeah, that's how the Pixel 8 is looking. The 8A, I don't know. I like it. It has a very oldie feel to it while still keeping the same resemblance of the Pixels now.
Yeah, it has that. I don't want to degrade it in this way when I say this, but it has a certain cheapness to it.
Yeah.
Even though there's a certain, I know we use this word a lot, but certain refinement to it as well. So it's really weird how when you're looking at these images, obviously you can see it in the link description. But
Yeah.
I actually don't mind it. Yes, that was the first thing I thought of was Galaxy S3, 4, or 5, somewhere
Yeah.
in there. It has that type of feel to it. But I actually like, especially in this blue. The blue looks really good.
It does.
I like
Nice
the
sky
bar
blue.
across. Looks really nice with the aluminum. Yeah. So that I can't really argue with. The rounded edges, they're fine. It's not like it's going to be that awful. I think if you look at let's see, the front, you really can't tell much difference from the front. I think it's the back that you really see the largest
Yeah.
kind of aggressive change to the design on the actual chassis. So yeah, I mean, outside of that, I don't think it's I guess what we would say controversial. So
Yeah, no, I kind of like the that rounded edge. Most phones don't even have that anymore, but I'm still a pretty big fan of that. Those rigid edges are just, I'm not a huge fan of that. Obviously, with the iPhone, we kind of talked about that. The next thing,
I wonder if Google's trying to take a little punch at Apple here because their whole competition with RCS, USB-C. This one is almost like a jab
Yeah,
at their
I could see
flat
that.
edges. I don't know.
it could very
That's
well
just
be. Yeah, honestly, they would
speculation.
love to make qualms with Qualcomm's
The competitor.
with the competitor.
Yeah.
The next thing we have here is the Pixel Watch 2. This is actually a leaked video. Again. This happens all the time. Not going to get into that because we've beaten that horse over a billion times by now. But yes.
It's glue.
Yeah, it really is. So basically, this was leaked by 91 Mobiles over on Twitter, I think, or X. Sorry, X. And basically, it shows a new UI for the Health app as well as the Fitbit. And there are a couple things added to this: the skin temperature sensor and the Fitbit stress feature from the EDA sensor that was previously spotted quite a few months ago. And yeah, the images here, you can check these ones out too. I love this UI. It's very smooth. It's simple. It's not like in your face, but it's just calm, relaxing. I love it. And another thing that they're showing off is the safety check, which basically that's kind of resembles to the thing Apple recently made, which is your check-in.
It's like a lockdown. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, not a lockdown. Just check in if a contact hasn't responded. I don't think it's necessarily for someone traveling, although I could be wrong. But I think it's just like to make sure someone's okay or whatever. And this also shows a wide variety of different bands, and these ones, obviously enough, match the colors that we're getting for the Pixel phone, and correctly saying the watch as well. So we have a new blue active band, a coral blue, black, and porcelain sports band, a metal slim band, which I'm kind of interested in, and a blue version of the woven band. So yeah, this looks really nice. Obviously the watch itself really hasn't changed much from the previous model, but we are still seeing a lot of new things be implemented, and probably a lot more, because this is just one leaked video. Some things may change. Honestly, I don't know where this guy even got it, but it's crazy. But yeah, I don't know what you think about this. I like it.
I mean, yeah, it's like you said, there really isn't anything aggressively different about it.
Yeah.
Other than the actual user interface, and I think that's really where we're focusing in on, just because that's kind of always been Google's forte, is the software. And it does kind of pique my interest a little bit as far as the safety check. I wonder if they're going to evolve that in some way, shape, or form. So we'll kind of have to wait on that one.
Absolutely.
I don't know what it is about the whole entire, I guess the flow of traffic when it comes to woven bands and woven cases, but there you go.
We'll get to that soon here.
Yeah, there's more to come. But yeah, it's the blue band kind of reminds me. It's kind of like a softer blue, but it resembles like a Smurf side of things.
Yeah,
in some ways.
It actually kind of resembles that Pixel 8a that we just looked at.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Very
I like
true.
that color. These are very smooth, very light. They're not like crazy dark colors. But yeah, they work pretty well. And
yeah, which actually, on that note, I don't know if you had this in the set list, but I did read some rumors to the effect that the Watch 2 could be part of a promo where if you buy, I'm not sure if it was the 8 or the 8 Pro, the Watch 2 would come with it. So
really,
that's one of the leaks, and we could very well see that happen.
Wow.
Where if you buy one of those models, you could get a Watch 2, added on. So
the only time
I have to wait and see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Which I think the only time they did that was the Pixel Fold. So.
I was just gonna say the only time, and not even any other company normally does that. Although maybe Samsung has, but yeah, I was just gonna say the Pixel.
You can never see Apple doing
Fold.
that.
No, never Apple. They're not even in the conversation right now. We haven't even gotten to them.
Yeah, they've left the conversation.
They're gonna be in the conversation soon, but even then, it's not gonna be very good.
No.
So the last thing for these Pixel points, what I'll coin them, is the 8 and 8 Pro. We actually talked about this last week, where we are seeing a possible extra year for updates.
Yes.
Apparently,
that's right, 5 to 6.
Yeah, the Pixel 8 and 8 Pro are rumored to get 7 years of Android updates, which is wild because I have never heard, let alone like 5 or 6, 7 years, which is nuts. Now,
can you clarify that though? Is that for security, or is that actually full software upgrades? Because I didn't get a chance to read that article.
So the person commented, and they claimed that it'd be 7 years of OS updates, and 5 year and 7 years of guaranteed security updates. So I think they work in the same way actually. Wow. Again, this is a rumor.
Yes.
So we can't be too sure about this. But if it's true, even if we're getting 5 and 6, like we talked about last week, that's incredible. But 7 is nuts.
Yeah. 7 would be
They're
crazy. I can't.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I can't imagine that. That would be
No,
insane.
yeah,
I mean,
I
that
can't
really
either.
is competing against Apple because I feel like
competing against everyone.
maybe this is just a a timing effect where I'm not really paying attention, but I kind of feel like have they slimmed down a little bit on their legacy updates with models? I mean, currently they are supporting, like I think we talked about it. I can't remember if it was our debatable episode or last week, but it's like 5 or 6 models that they're supporting right now. So
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
it would be amazing.
Yeah, and actually, sometimes I look in the comments of articles just to see what people are thinking about this. And I saw a few people saying that they're actually not for this necessarily, mainly because by the time like 4 or 5 years rolls around, the battery has already went down in quality, and you're hardly getting a lot of battery life with that. Some people counter that and said that, well, you can just replace the battery, which is true. There were some people that had some conflict with like U-Break, iFixit. It wasn't very good. So I guess I could see arguments on both sides, but the point still stands that you're getting this long of an update. So even if, like, say, well, I don't want to do 7 years, I want to replace this in like 3 or 4, that's fine. But for someone like my wife, if she ever wanted to get a Pixel, or someone who wants to keep their phone for a long period of time, this is great because you don't have to replace it for a long time. So
and the other point that I would make to that is, well, there's a couple things that I would say to that effect. Is one, you have to consider that if Google were to take Apple's approach and kind of sell older models as brand new, which I don't know if they do that, because I think the oldest phone they have on there is their current, 7, 7A, and then 7 Pro. I don't actually see the 6s on there anymore from what. Okay, they do have the 6A.
That makes sense because it came after the 6 and
It
6
came
Pro.
after the 6s, so that is their oldest one in there. And so, yeah. The reason why I bring that up is because when you think about it, if Google did do that where it's the same as Apple, because Apple keeps some of those older phones on there for a while. I mean, they had the iPhone 11 on
That's
there forever.
true,
It
yeah.
felt like.
They did.
So in theory, if they actually did do that and kept on, some of those older models on their, in their inventory, then you could see how people would buy them brand new, and they'd be like 2 or 3 years old, and you'd still get maybe 3 or 4 years of software updates. So there's that kind of argument to it all. So that's hard to say. Obviously, we don't have that right now.
Yeah, and you would probably get some discounts from that as well. So you get a new phone, but because it's a few years. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you can't really lose out on a lower price on a phone that's new, most likely. But if it's like 2 or 3 years old, I could see them like pricing it down. Like, hey, this has been in our stock for a while. It's a new phone, but we'll like price it down $100 or something. I feel like that's a good idea too. But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's kind of not pointless, but I feel like it's a weird argument just to say like, well, the battery's gonna die or anyway. And yeah.
Well, that was my other point, is that like it really depends on Google's support and the parts inventory and that side of it all, and how they're able to support the hardware, with batteries and such. So that's really something cool to think about. As far as, I'm glad that people are voicing that, because it does kind of bring on different sides of, well, is this good? Is this bad? Is this a waste of time to actually have all these teams supporting legacy models? It's, I don't know. That is kind of polarizing in certain ways. So I'm excited to see how that'll turn about.
Yeah, for sure.
But something really, I just couldn't get over this, because this is big time news. Like, we saw articles, well, at least I saw articles popping up all over the place.
Okay.
That Facebook had updated their logo, and they went from a lighter blue to a darker blue. So I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was shocked. I never thought that would ever happen. I never thought they would ever change their logo. They've even made some tweaks to the font of the F. I mean, my gosh.
Are you being
sarcastic? What is the world coming to? Wow, Riley, you don't know me that well.
Was that sarcasm?
Oh, yes, that was.
I'm sorry, your tone is like you actually seem very sincere. It was hard to tell.
No, that is pure sarcastic,
Okay,
man. I
I was
am
actually
100%.
seriously thinking you were like complete because I'm over here like,
Blown away.
does he really think that this is a cool update to like just change the color of an app? Okay, good.
No.
I'm glad. I'm
Yep.
glad because I was really concerned for you, man.
We will throw the link in the description below just so you guys can see the difference. Because I mean, it is wow.
Oh man.
Might want to take a seat before you open up that link, but it was just.
Well,
I had to throw that in there because I knew you had some Facebook news. So
yeah. Speaking of which, actually, this one's a little more interesting. So, if you have an account now, you can actually have 4 other different accounts, and these can be under different names, or maybe a business or whatever. And these have limitations, obviously, so you can't use the dating or the marketplace professional mode, and you can't make payments on them. But they basically act like another profile for, and JD would love this because I know he has 2 or 3 more profiles that he uses all the time on Facebook. So you would love this, man. But yeah, you can do all that kind of stuff. There is some security concerns, obviously, from people that are using identity theft, just being someone else or whatever. That's been an issue on Facebook for a while, so I don't see really that changing, although it could progress into a much more problematic thing. That's understandable. But yeah, I don't know what you think about this. I'm kind of intrigued. Mainly, I don't use multiple profiles. I just have my own. But I don't know. It seems like it could possibly a good thing for people.
yeah, Riley knows this because I had some aliases back in the day when I kind of went rogue with my regular Facebook account.
Yeah.
So currently I have like 3 alternate Facebook accounts in additional to my regular one. So the fact that they're bringing this up, and ironically that there's 4 slots, it intrigues me, and I'm kind of curious how this is all going to work. Like you're saying, Riley, and the security. I guess I could see how that would kind of pose a potential threat or
Yeah.
raise some concern. So overall, this is. I mean, I wouldn't say this is like amazing or anything, but I do
It's
feel
cool.
like it kind of serves a purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, is there anything else to this?
Yeah, I was just going to say regarding the security thing, because I forgot to mention, Facebook did say, and I quote, if someone has recently or repeatedly violated our policies, they will not be able to create additional profiles. If someone repeatedly violates our policies using any of their additional personal profiles, appropriate action will be taken on their account and all associated profiles. So even if those security issues that people have thought of do come to fruition, it looks like Facebook is going to take care of that. And maybe they'll have some other roadblocks in the way too, so that way identity theft won't be such as big of an issue on Facebook. But yeah.
I'm kind of curious here because, and I'm sure you probably can't answer this question, or maybe it was implied. Because I'm a moderator on one of the Facebook groups on there, or one of the countless Facebook groups on there. But
Yeah.
it would beg the question, if you were part of a Facebook group and you made a violation with one of those slots, would the original count actually be banned and all 4 would be disabled from re-entering that group?
It says... It does say appropriate action will be taken on their account and all associated profiles. So from that wordage,
So
it
it
sounds
sounds
like
like
they
you-
will.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was saying, because I wasn't sure if you actually said it or maybe it was implied or
Yeah.
it just wasn't stated at all. So yeah, I guess I could see how that would be taken, because that was something that made me think. I'm like, wait a second, if you actually do violate something on one of the profiles and you get banned from the group, could you actually get,
It'll prevent some people from
I don't know what's the
actually
term, disbarred?
doing that stuff, which is good.
What was that?
It'll actually prevent people from doing that kind of stuff, because if there's a
Yeah.
high risk factor, it'll stop people from actually, taking someone else's identity. So
Yeah, that, or I mean, just how they interact on the Facebook groups,
Yeah.
which, well, I don't know about that because I feel like some people can just be completely irresponsible and foolish when it comes to any Facebook groups. I don't think spamming is spamming, so it's just
Yeah, that's true.
can't really change that.
No.
Um, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to some hardware news, or possibly, or you had something on the iPhone.
Yes, the iPhone 16, even though literally the 15 just released 2 weeks ago, we always get stuff. We'll probably get stuff on the 17 probably here. Who knows? There's another possible button being added to the 16 series. It's called the capture button. And that's about the only information we have. I know that's not super
Capture
interesting.
as in like capture a photo or capture a screenshot.
That's what it seems to indicate. That's what it seems to imply. And because the one thing that this article kind of talks about is the Sony Xperia phones. They have a
Okay.
dedicated shutter button.
Yes,
The
they
only
do.
thing about this, you can still take a picture with your volume button on your phone, on your iPhone.
Right.
So if this was true, it's kind of pointless. I also think that, and I still love this about my OnePlus 6, where if you double click the button, the power button, it takes you to the camera. I love that.
Yes.
And if this was for that, that's ridiculous. Apple, just make the power button be able to use multiple gestures. But that's another topic.
Well,
for
that's what the action button is currently doing anyway. You can shortcut it to
Yeah,
the camera
that's
button.
true.
So that's what's
So
making me
there's-
wonder. This rumor is actually kind of funky.
It
just
is.
that we just had the action button
Yeah.
introduced. So the capture just it actually throws me for a loop.
I know, right?
So
Yeah.
well, the other thing that I wanted to throw in there is it's not even just the action button, but you can map the double tap on the back
Yes,
to take a screenshot.
that too.
So there's lots of ways to do that. So I don't know why
Exactly.
they would add another button on there unless they're just asking for trouble.
Yeah. One other thing to actually mention about this is that it would use capacitive button, which for those of you who don't know, capacitive basically means that it's not actually a mechanical button. It functions kind of like your button on your SE series, where it reacts to a certain amount of pressure. It senses that,
Yeah.
and then it sends you back a
MacBook
haptic,
touchpads. Yep.
the vibration or whatever. And
Yes.
we had a rumor for the 15 that there were going to be all capacitive buttons, but that never happened.
That's right.
I was actually big
Nope.
in favor of that because it would be pretty cool to have that. Some might disagree, but it looks like this one might have it, as well as a few other buttons as well. So, yeah, this rumor
Because we
kinda
discussed
seems-
that. We talked about the capacitive because
Yeah.
it would help create a stronger seal when it comes to IP
That's the one
ratings
reason
and
why I
just-
was very wanting it a lot. But
Yes.
yeah, that's basically all
Which
we
would-
have. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say. I mean, which I think we talked about that where it would be pushed back to the iPhone 16 series as far as the capacitive on all the buttons. So that part doesn't
True.
necessarily surprise me, but I'm glad that it's still in the works because if we haven't heard anything, then it kind of makes me wonder. Okay, is this even? Or, of course, I think you just mentioned that about the capture button alone. I don't think that was necessarily
Yeah, it's just
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem. You are right, JD. It does seem kind of like a far-fetched rumor, just because, like, what would it even indicate about this? Because we already have so many buttons and so many features that would elicit that. So, I don't know.
Personally, here's what I would say.
Okay.
Scratch the whole entire capture button. Let us customize the two soft buttons on the bottom of the iPhone on the touchscreen. I would love
Yes.
to remap those instead
Me
of being
too.
stuck with what
Oh,
we
for
actually
sure.
have.
I agree.
That's what I would want
Yeah.
to have changed. I don't need another physical button. We already have the action button. Let's just move on from there and kind of improve some of the software sides of things. Because
I
gosh,
feel like
but that's just me.
I feel like whenever Apple does something really good and people love it, they're like, "Oh, we should do that again," but this time, the same but different. I don't know. It's just it's weird to me, but yeah.
Oh no, it is weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, heading into this, right before we get into deals, not sure if you've actually heard of this company. It's called Nacon or Necon,
Sounds familiar.
but they're coming out with a PS5 controller, and there's really not whole. There's actually is more details, but it will evidently sport anti-stick drift features, which I'm not a big gamer, so I don't exactly know what that entails. I don't know if you know what that, because you're a PC gamer, right?
yeah, I'm not really too familiar with controllers. Say what it is again.
Yeah, The controller name or the feature?
The feature.
It's anti-stick drift features. So
Oh,
I'm assuming it has to do with the two sticks on the top, the Joy-Con sticks.
yes. That's actually a really good feature. So, on most controllers, and this has been, and if this is what I'm understanding it is, I'm not sure, but I feel like this is what it is. Controllers, if they've been used a lot, they tend to hold onto one area and they drift. Like if you've ever played a
Oh,
race
okay.
car game or something like that, or
My wife has been talking about that with her Xbox
yes,
controller. Okay, that must be what. Okay, yes, because she's having issues, and she's like, I really just want to get a new controller because I'm having issues with this.
yeah.
That would
So
be
this is
great.
actually
Okay.
very good, and I think we saw another controller that did this. It might have been for the I think it was for the Steam Deck. I can't remember, but one of them had it, and it's actually super good. It's really needed on all these controllers because they're prone to it. It happens all the time. I don't care what company you're talking about. Controllers have that issue where they just stick drift. And it's so annoying, it's so dumb, and you'd think after like how many years of controllers being made that they would have solved this right now. And it takes a third party company to actually work on like I don't know. It's a rant for another day, but it's
Yeah.
just
No, that's. I mean, it's worth stating for sure. And I mean, there's definitely more details in the article that obviously due to timing we won't get into. But the fact is that it will also include some mappable buttons as well. I sent this over Discord, among other desired gaming features. So the price will come in at $250 and will be available at some point in October. So
250.
it is. I don't know if I stated it, but it is the
Huh.
Revolution 5 Pro. So
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
I mean, the design, if you guys want to check it out down below, the design is actually pretty nice. It does have that dual sense feel to it, so I feel like they tried to stay within the typical PS5 gamer finger memory and stuff like that. So that's good to have.
Yeah,
But
that is.
yeah, I definitely agree. I would love to have more of that, and I think that would be helpful because it even said even though it's not a like modular, it does have replaceable parts and stuff to help with that as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. But we'll go ahead and move on to deals here. We actually got quite a few. The first one is the Apple M1 MacBook Air is available for $749.99, and that's a $250 deal taken down off of that, which is originally $1,000. And you guys can go ahead and check that out on Amazon. We'll leave that link down there.
You said that was the what was the storage capacity? I don't.
256, sorry.
256. Okay. Oh, that's yeah. Because you said 1,000.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I should have guessed that.
you're good.
Now, I'm not sure about how common this is with other manufacturers, but currently Hyundai has a deal going on where if you purchase or lease a 2023 Kona EV or a 2023 or 2024 Ioniq 5 or Ioniq 6 by October 31st, they will provide you with a free level 2 home charger, which should get you about 37 miles within an hour of charging,
Okay, yeah.
as well as $600 towards installation of that home charger.
Wow.
Now, obviously, there is a process to follow. Yeah, there is a process to follow, but based on what I read, it doesn't seem to be too complicated. Although it's worth noting that you can't get the free charger without proceeding with the home installation done through Hyundai and the technicians and installers that they approve of. So
That makes sense.
all details obviously can be found in the link below. So, but I felt like that was worth stating.
Okay. Cool. Man, that's I can't top that actually. So, but I'll try my best here. So normally selling at $59, you can get the MagSafe wallet for $28 over on Prime, Amazon Prime, and if you actually have Prime, it'll be shipped for just for free. So I don't know why I said that because that's normally what it is. I read that wrong. Anyway. Also, the Apple Watch Series 8 is seeing a price drop from $399 to $299, and the GPS 45mm version is seeing a price drop from $429 to $350. So that's some solid news right there not a whole lot to say about that.
Sounds like,
But
yeah, that sounds like they're trying to clear out their inventory.
it does seem like that. The funny thing is, uh, I think these are all on Amazon. But at the
Yeah.
beginning, they said a deal so good it might upset Tim Cook. Is starting off the work week. Just a quick little
my word.
joke there, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. For all of you Prime members, speaking of Amazon out there, you guys can get up to 4 months, or you guys can actually get 4 months of Amazon Music Unlimited, as well as 3 months of Kindle Unlimited for free. This offer will no longer be available come October 12th. So that's the 11th would be your last day to enroll on this, which also so happens to coincide with the second day of Fall Prime Day,
Yep.
which is going to be October 10th and 11th. I don't think we've announced that yet, but it's the 10th and 11th for October is going to be Prime Day for the fall. So that's something worth noting there too. But yeah, 4 months of Amazon Music Unlimited and 3 of Kindle Unlimited. I've already jumped in on that deal. So
Cool. That's really awesome.
yeah.
Well, moving right along back to main topics for this week. The Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra. This thing is actually said to house the coming Snapdragon 8th Gen 3. And allegedly, from a tipster named Revegnus over on X, he says that the benchmark multi-core score will be 7,400 as opposed to the Gen 2, which had 4,975. So that's 2,500 increase on a multi-score, which is nuts. And you'd have to expect that they're only going to do that for the Ultra because it is such an insane, if it's true, it is such an insane chipset. So, yeah, not a whole lot of other information about this. It's said that the Snapdragon 3 chipset it should be introduced in October, so we'll likely see it there. And then normally they have their, beginning of January, I think they have their event.
Well, yeah, that's actually coincides with this next topic we have here,
Okay.
and it's really not a whole lot to break down, other than according to reports and actually sales numbers from Samsung, the expected start production for the S24 Ultra will begin here in November, which is a little bit earlier. So sources believe that rather than waiting until the regular timeline of February to launch the next gen S lineup, Samsung will actually move it up a month to pretty much shorten the gap between what Apple has with their iPhones, and try to get in on that release and get some more consumers going for the S series. So
Yeah, and
it may even be part of the Pixel models too that they're concerned about.
that's
too.
true.
So
And that would also coincide with
Yeah.
the fact that since these are being released October, that gives them that month to go ahead and have them ordered so they can install them into the phones, the Ultras to be specific. So that actually makes
yeah, it
sense.
seems like it's lining up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also one other quick thing here, the LG Gram Fold has launched. This is LG's first laptop with a folding screen. We've seen LG make a lot of different, unique, shall we say, things in the past that haven't done very well.
Unique understatement of the decade. Yes.
Yeah,
And we've just begun.
we really have. Just to name a few specs, because I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail about specs here, but basically this has a 13th gen Core i5, so it's a 1335U processor. It's got the Iris Xe graphics, the 16 gigs. It's got 16 gigs of RAM, 512 of SSD, a 72 watt hour battery with 65 watt charging, and then the normal basic specs, the stereo speakers, Bluetooth 5.1, Wi-Fi 6E, and 2 USB-C ports.
Yeah.
Now this thing is only being released in its hometown of, or its home country of Korea, and they're very limited with the amount of devices they've released. But apparently, and tell me, well, actually, no, you guess. Tell me how much you think this thing is.
It's an i5 1350U. Those specs, foldable. Oh, I don't know. I could be quite off the mark. I'm gonna say 1,200.
Nope.
Okay. What do we got?
3,729.
I thought you were gonna tell me it was like gonna be super low or something. It was gonna blow my mind. Okay, yeah. Um,
Nope.
3,000.
729.
Yeah,
Yeah.
720. That's almost $4,000. Wow, and it probably is going to be once you hit sales and tax and stuff like that. Which obviously it's not coming here in the States. That is insane. So when you say foldable, you actually mean the screen is folding?
It's a whole giant screen that can fold. I'll actually show you this image right now.
Oh, okay. I got you. So it's like a flat aluminum back, and then you get the screen on the front, and it
Yeah.
folds over itself.
You
Let's see.
can
Yes. Okay.
you can
Yep.
actually add a keyboard that sits on it, so you can use it like a normal laptop. This thing can be used like
One of
a
those.
tablet or what have you. But JD, let me just tell you, for the first 200 customers that purchase this in Korea, because no one else can purchase it, you can get about $800 off.
Wow, down to $3,000. Whoa,
Yeah.
man, watch out! People.
Isn't that amazing?
Here we come.
That's how you
That
do
is very
sarcasm,
impressive.
by the way. Anyway,
Hey, you know what? You know what? Our personality here. You have more of a vibrant emotional
I do.
reaction. Mine is very dry. So
thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, 3,729. That's ridiculous for this. I get it. It's a foldable laptop. And I also understand there are some good specs in this thing, but I would say at most 2,000. I don't see this thing being any more than that. And it's just like, ugh. I don't.
well,
get
that's
it.
what I was thinking. Like I was thinking it was going to be around like maybe 2,000 or something. But the way you were hyping it, I was like, oh, maybe there's like a really good aggressive discount or something that's going to be like $1,200 or $1,300.
Yeah.
So, but obviously seeing this, I think Michael Fisher on not Mr. Who's the Boss, Mr. Mobile,
A lot of misters.
he actually cited, yes, he actually cited products like this where you actually put the keyboard on top of the touchscreen, which turns it into more of a functional laptop
Yeah.
versus just a full slate
Right.
screen. But yeah, I think the idea is definitely cool. It doesn't surprise me that it has a U processor because that thing looks awfully thin. But yeah, I can't really say it's kind of sad just because the nuances kind of left us. I can't really say that I'm impressed.
Yeah. Me neither.
And I definitely can't say I'm impressed about the price either. But yeah, it's the only unfortunate thing is that it's not to the States yet. I'm assuming they'll probably eventually, get to that stage where it's a phase rollout, or they'll have a, another upcoming model with this kind of layout and design that we can jump in on. But
Yeah.
outside of that, it's not like I feel like I'm missing out extensively. So
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
and just one last thing here because I'm kind of reconsidering what I last said. I know I just jump around like crazy. I think it's warranted for being high priced because it is a foldable. We saw that with a foldable phone, and that was like $1,800 from both Pixel and Samsung.
Yeah.
Both Google and Samsung. So I guess I can kind of understand how much that is, but even like Asus's ZenBook 17 Fold was launched at $3,499. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the gray area.
What kind of processor did that one have? Did it state?
Yeah, it's got the Intel Evo i7.
Okay.
So
Well, yeah, I suppose. I guess I can see how that would work its way into it, but I don't know. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
yeah,
Actually, on a bit of a round trip here back to the iPhone 16 and 16 Plus, they'll actually feature potentially a lower cost chip than the current iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Now, it's not certain as to whether Apple will market the chip in the, base 16s as the A17 Pro, but based on rumors from reliable sources, it will not be using the N3B fabrication that the current A17 is based on. Instead, it will be a lower cost variant that is sourced still from TSMC's 3nm node, but will be less powerful and efficient than the current Pro models currently boast. So we assume there will still be an improvement over the A16 Bionic that's currently in the 15 base and plus, but if this comes to fruition, it will be the first time that Apple has a custom-made chip specifically for the base models versus just
Yeah, that's
copying
true.
over what they had on the previous Pro
Huh.
line. So, yeah, that one really caught me off guard just because I didn't think that they would do that. I just assumed that it would be a carryover, but now it sounds like they're making some adjustments and maybe trying to be more cost efficient or so. I don't know.
It does seem like they've, and definitely with the 15 Pro and Pro Max in certain regards, it does seem like they're actually taking into consideration user experience for both pro users and base users, which is really good. Normally, when you think of Apple, you think of them always as like a money grab, or, you know, here's this. This is the new phone. Just move the camera. Now we have USB-C. But at least you're getting more of a different type of performance there than just putting an old one in and that's it. So I'm all for that if that comes to
Well,
fruition.
yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. See, part of me feels like we're getting gypped though, and that's the thing that kind of gets me
Okay.
because if you would just put the A17 Pro in there, then that would make me feel a whole lot better. But because you're intentionally looking for a lower cost fabrication, then I'm like, well, I feel like we're kind of losing out. So,
Well,
and this is something that I constantly have to remember is that this is for the common consumer. So even though they might not care, that's kind of gets in my mind because I feel like Apple's taking advantage of that, and it does get under my skin,
I
from time to time. So
I actually disagree with you right there. I think it'd actually be bad to put the 17 Pro into a base model, mainly because it would just cause people to go to the base more often because they're able to use that better performance for gaming and stuff like that. And I feel like that should be a
well, that's
pro.
just it. We're tying in future models into current specs. So, like, you would think that, oh, because we're getting the dynamic island this year and it was on the last year, we finally get that. That's great. That means that next year I get to look forward to gaming stuff and they'll improve. They'll probably make something even better for the A18 Pro. So that's kind of where I'm thinking,
I
and
don't
I'm
know.
just like, why are we? That's kind of my process, and I just hate that thought going through my head that that's kind of what we were expecting, and now they're kind of going out of their way to, I don't know, just kind of make us that kind of fear of missing out. So
I guess so.
versus what Google does, they give us the G tensor chip, which hopefully that'll be another TSMC
I would,
sourced chip.
yeah, I would say they at least need to put an A17 Bionic or something of that nature.
Yeah, I mean it's probably going to have some sort of moniker on there for the A17. It's just definitely going to have an adjusted chipset modify. It's going to have a modified chipset
Yeah,
from the actual Pro. So
and I mean, why would you have a Pro chipset on a base model?
I mean, in theory, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, the A15 Bionic and the A16 Bionic were in the base models the next year, and they added on that extra GPU core. So that's where I'm like, okay, what's the deal here?
Well, this isn't.
Now we're actually seeing some problems.
Well,
So
this is an even extreme higher performance actually than just a, like as if they just did the 17. Well, that's normal, but this is a Pro version. You have that 3 nanometer added to it. So it's even boosted up a lot more by like, what was it, 10, 15% performance?
something
So,
like that.
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of still like disagreeing with you, JD, mainly because I don't feel like it should be on the base models. It would be great if it would. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but from the perspective of Apple, or even perspective of certain consumers, I just feel like, oh, they got the 17 Pro, and I got the base model last year. I didn't get that. Or I had to get the Pro last year just to get the 17 Pro in chip. It's just, I don't know. It's weird to me.
Well, that's true. But I think 9 times out of 10, most tech enthusiasts probably don't lean just for the powerhouse chipset.
Yeah.
There's so much more to actually be seen on a pro models, from camera capabilities to even design and material as we've seen with titanium. But I don't know. It's obviously a point of controversy, and another polarizing factor in kind of their marketing scheme,
Yeah.
and how they're going about with the consumer offerings. So we don't know, obviously, for sure. This is just a rumor, but yeah. So you have some more interesting thing on Apple, is that right?
Yes. Speaking of material,
Oh, no.
as
Oh, yes.
yeah, as Apple had aforementioned in the event, they stated that they will no longer be offering leather cases. To which JD and I were kind of a bit saddened by, because leather cases are just really good, and they don't take as much damage over the course of a while, other than certain cases like the fine woven. This person that wrote this article was peeved. I will say that at the least. Normally I don't see an article that's just very blunt, but this one was. Basically, this guy, he ordered the fine woven case, and over less than 48 hours, and mind you, all he did was just do some camera tests outside. He hardly really dropped it, or he didn't drop it at all. He threw it in his backpack, he put it on his wireless charger, he did everything you normally would do with a case. It's supposed to protect the phone, but not, the case shouldn't be damaged so much. Well, come to find out that the case itself, there's scratches that you can see, and this is actually what Apple coined, well, not coined, but stated was like a suede. And I'll even show you this image, JD, because it's really sad, honestly. By the way, this thing is $59. So if that tells you anything, it's just nuts. But yeah, this thing is very susceptible to stain, very susceptible to scratches. And actually, there was a display thing at a Parker Ortolani Island for Apple's demos, and they actually had to keep replacing them because they looked like crap, within a day or whatever. And other people obviously posted about this. They had stains on them. One guy brought it with him to a restaurant, put it on the table. Didn't notice anything afterwards, but later that morning, the next morning, he picked it up and noticed a stain right on it. And there's even a comment below that was talking about someone literally just bought it, they opened the package, hated it, and sent it back. A lot of people have the same reaction every single time. And I cannot believe this. I mean, if you're paying $59, you'd expect to have a good premium case that lasts for, and I'm not saying all cases, they need to last for 5 years. A year or two after that much probably is when you want to replace a case. I can attest to that.
Yeah.
But 48 hours, goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of gets you, and the reason why Riley and I were a little bummed about this is because, like he was saying, leather does have that effect after a while, but it's because of that patina that you really appreciate how it ages so well. So this is clearly far from it, and I've seen similar articles like that online. I've also seen Zolotech's review on these cases, and they are absolutely, I mean, he was scraping just his nails, a key, a screw on it, and stuff like that, and just kind of seeing how it reacts. And then he pretty much demolished the thing, just taking it from the outside rim to the inner, taking out the coils and stuff like that, and pretty much just disassembling it. And you could tell, it was wow, I'm paying $60 for this, and it's pretty pathetic.
It's ridiculous.
So yeah, I really don't see this this case line going anywhere. I mean, or actually gaining any traction, I should say.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty pathetic, and I hope they discontinue it, or if not, at least find some way to counteract this issue that a lot of people are experiencing, because it's I feel like that would be another line of just getting gypped and paying for something that's, I wouldn't even say worth less money, but not even worth anything at all, because that's something you expect.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you expect from Wish
Or Temu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why Apple ever decided to use suede as the backing for this case is beyond me. It doesn't make any sense. You know that fabric tends to retain that stain. Why in the world would you even consider using that as the backing of the case? And this is Apple. They need to think about this stuff before they actually release it, because you have to know that. And then even for like last week for the update, and that's kind of more understandable because some bugs, get out of reach. But like even when you release an iOS 17 update for a new phone and you have to update to a newer update to make sure that transitions perfectly, I just feel like, and maybe this is just from a different perspective or anything, but I feel like Apple just hasn't really taken consideration this year for certain things.
Well, that's the crazy thing, is that it wasn't even so much, let's say, for example, you had to set up the phone and then you had to update so that you could, fix a bug that had to do with phone calls
it's not a
or
huge
something like
thing.
that. This is something that you had to do in order to set up the phone for transferring information. That blows my mind, because that was like a complete preliminary problem that people were experiencing.
Exactly.
And that you actually had to fix via that update. So yeah, there's that to it. And there's just, I don't know. People said that iOS 17 has gotten better in some ways, and I'm like, I'm still seeing some issues here where we're not to that point yet. And I'll say it again, I really do wish it was one of those quote unquote soft upgrades where we're actually seeing more refinement, more security, taking out more bugs and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. And I'll probably continue to feel about that until will probably typically be like February or March of this next year, because that's how things go, and you just have to wait that long to actually get something that feels stable. So that is pretty unfortunate, though, as far as the casing. It didn't surprise me that this was cited here on the show, just because that is a very popular point of negativity when it comes to what Apple's done with replacing leather. So.
Exactly. Yeah. It's insane.
Which actually, on that note, we'll actually move over to just a quick question. This is kind of maybe a mini debatable point, although I feel like we just had one.
We did.
I read an article, and it kind of threw me, but I had to ask this to you because you are a fellow tech enthusiast, and I could easily ask I could ask my wife, I could ask our mom. How have you been adapting to the watchOS 10 layout as far as buttons, because they've moved some things around, and I'm just kind of curious, have you been able to kind of adjust yet, or is that still becoming a problem?
I'll be honest, I actually haven't used my watch in the last few weeks. I did upgrade to the beta release for watchOS 10, and when I used it, I liked it. I didn't have really any issues with it. Why has something gone amiss?
Well, it just there was just some articles about how it's because they moved around like the mapping of what the flat button does and stuff like that, and that was something that I had a hard time kind of adjusting in the beginning. And incidentally, my daughter's watch upgraded by itself, which really ticks me off. So she's having a hard time with like adjusting them to the mapping buttons as well of what they do. So yeah, that was the added factor to it. And I promise you, I will do everything in my power to make sure that my wife's watch does not update, because I don't think she's ready for that yet.
No.
Although she is excited about the new app layout, so I don't know. Maybe that'll be a break even.
Probably.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I can see how people would be kind of hesitant or concerned with that. With new layouts, it is difficult to kind of get used to that. Like I said, for me, I actually liked it better than watchOS 9. Just because it felt a little more fluid. Things were a little more fixed, simplified. And that grid layout was so much better. But yeah, it is. And updating on its own, that's a big no-no for me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm questioning whether she actually pressed something, but it was kind of funny because I picked it up and, even she was like, oh, it upgraded. I have some new software. It was like, yeah, it shouldn't have done that. Normally you have to like confirm that it's going to update. So maybe she did something without knowing. I don't know. But I just had to ask that because that came up, and I'm sure our parents will probably be asking about this upgrade and if it's worth or not.
Yeah, they will. Well, we have
But anyway, you had to close it on
Yeah,
item, right?
we have come to the end here, and this actually has to do with ChatGPT. We normally don't talk about them, but they've released some cool new updates. I should say OpenAI has for ChatGPT. This is incredible. Okay, so, and I know some people have issues with AI and whatever, and for this, it is kind of scary, honestly, but it's still pretty cool. Basically,
Yeah.
you can actually talk with OpenAI, with ChatGPT, as if you're having a really good conversation. You could request it to have like literal bedtime stories, or from what they OpenAI specifically said, settle a dinner table debate, and you can even take a picture, send it to ChatGPT, and ask it a question like, "How do I install this?" or "How do I take this apart?" or whatever, and it will use the information because it can actually see now. Weirdly, not see you, but see the image. It can take the image it's given and analyze it through all of its data that's input, put it through the internet, and then say, "You need to do this," and it gives you all the steps like it normally does. But you can even send another image close up or whatever and say like, "Is this what I need to do?" or "I have these tools." It take a picture of those, and it'll tell you have the right tools. It'll give you step by. It is so cool, honestly. And then I think there's even a few more things.
I'm just picturing right now our mom's reaction as she's listening to this.
Yes, she's probably like, "What?" Yeah, and I mean, like I said, it is kind of scary because there's even talk of people being able to use this for very awful reasons, and even OpenAI has come out and said like they understand the risks and are being careful to.
Are we talking about re-rendering their images?
Talking about using technology to impersonate others and commit fraud.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
That's been a point of
the
concern.
company
Yep.
acknowledges the risk and claims the technology will only be used for specific use cases and partnerships. That basically means that we have no control and we'll try and do what we can, but but regardless, this is still pretty cool, and even a further development and push into artificial intelligence, and just I gotta even show you this video because it is absolutely wild. If I can even copy video address, yeah, here we go. You just gotta watch this because me explaining is not as good as someone actually seeing the visuals for this, and we'll obviously link down the video description here. But yeah, check this out.
It's kind of interesting here because even though this is on a simple scale, like for this first example with the bike seat, but it's one of those things like if you don't know how to do that, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is.
But it's cool that they're obviously they want to demo it in a way that people understand. Like this is it's there's simplicity to it, but this is the potential, and it can go even further. So wow, that is crazy.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about the OpenAI and just the capabilities as far as analyzing data and then turning that around and putting that into imagery, it really opens up just that next world of kind of just intelligence.
Yeah,
that
for real.
We've kind of dreamed about, but we really haven't seen like a full, really, true-fledged example of it. And I think we're reaching that point. I think we have reached that point right now. So.
Yeah, we really have. And it's just like I know that for a while now, like when I first saw like ChatGPT and stuff like that, it boggled my mind of how cool it was that you could actually get any information.
Yeah.
Like, for example, like you and I showed you information regarding After Effects, and like how it gave me exactly what I needed to do to create an effect, and even I couldn't do it because of my computer and the performance of it, but it was still amazing. And now just seeing this, is again scary, but just like amazing, like how much it can just process in the information it's given. But yeah.
But with that said, that wraps up this week's episode, and we will catch you guys in the next one. This is JD and Riley signing off.
Peace out.